Welcome to episode 71 of the Brew Crew Scoop. The Milwaukee Brewers are headed to the postseason for the seventh time in 8 years. Seven times in the 8 year era of Christian Yelich and the Milwaukee Brewers. It's been a great time to be a Milwaukee Brewers fan, despite the lack of postseason history. You could really make an argument that this is the golden era of Milwaukee Brewers baseball. Um, Obviously, needing a World Series appearance to really solidify that, but it feels like we're living in the good days, at least of the regular season of Milwaukee Brewers baseball for sure. So, pretty exciting. Even though they've pretty much just stayed steady 500 for a few weeks here after the long win streak. Back in the playoffs, still have an outside shot at 100 wins. Really good shot at the division. Really good shot at a first round bye. Really good shot at a franchise record and wins for a team that was projected to go about 500. Nothing but good vibes really here in Milwaukee with 12 games to go.
Yeah, I agree. Like we've kind of talked about, we've just been keeping afloat, had a sweep, got swept, and then just squeaked out a series against the Cardinals. So just slowly keeping on, getting it done. And yeah, it's hard to complain right now. There's still there after the Rangers sweep, there was somehow fans complaining, of course, but yeah, no. Good time to be a Brewers fan. Like you said, we're definitely spoiled the last few years. It's a lot different vibes than when we were our childhood. When 2008 happened and it seemed like a freaking World Series and we barely did anything actually that year. So yeah, spoiled for sure.
Yeah, it was a 5-4 week. Once again, just hovering around that 500 mark. Um, First, it was the Pirates series in Pittsburgh. Brewers took care of business there and swept them. Then they went down to Texas to face a team who kind of underperformed, maybe underperformed last year and this year, to be honest. But they're kind of fighting for a playoff spot now, and they swept us. Hellman, I don't even, is it Michael? What's his first name? I've never even heard of him before the
Yeah, he was a
series.
killer that series
He,
though.
he was like prime, I don't even know who, Ken Griffey Jr.
Andrew Vaughn.
Making catches.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, defensively now.
That too, I'm saying Robin Homers.
hmm
He looked really good. So excuse me for not remembering his first name, but definitely impressed me. First I'd ever heard of him. But then back home against the Cardinals, they took care of business 8-2 on Friday in a fun one. Yelich hit a bomb. Another Quinn Priester Brewers game where they won. How great has he been? Um, and then on Saturday, the Brewers were down 6-2, and I think I said in our group chat, like, I think ultimately we are pretty patient as a group, but I said in our group chat something like, all right, this 500 ball is starting to get close to being a little frustrating. Like, at some point, we should kick it back into gear, and it's like they heard me, and they scored two in the eighth, three in the ninth, and two in the 10th to win 9-8. So, pretty cool. I don't want to sound spoiled either, but I'll admit it, hand up, I almost did. Walk off by Andrew Monasterio. Ken Rosenthal had one tackle, tackle for a loss. Um, and then on Sunday, unfortunately, they were unable to complete the sweep against the Cardinals. But again, you'll take 5-4. You'll take 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals, and 12 to go.
Yeah, you summed it up. I was out at a local establishment for that Saturday game, and the walk-off was obviously on TV, and you heard the pop around the bar, and it's definitely been a theme this year. And I haven't watched a ton of games like out places, but I feel like every time you are, and even if it's not a big hit at the end of the Brewers game, somehow there's someone at the bar like cheering on a single in the first inning, and you're like, what? I kind of can't believe you're clapping at this, like not even a sports bar half the time, but the vibes are good in this city right now. So um, definitely a year with some steam behind it, with Uke and everything going on, and I'm sure we might talk a little bit about Uke and his not his letter, I guess, but
Yeah.
um, his vibes, I guess we'll call it. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, just real quick, the rest of the schedule. As I mentioned, Angels come to town, and then the Brewers head to St. Louis and San Diego, and then off day, and then final 3 games at home versus the Reds. 12 games. Magic number for the division is 8, and magic number for the bye 8 as well. Magic number for the 1 seed is 10, with that tiebreaker over the Red Hot Phillies. Um, And then the record needed for a new franchise record in wins is 6-6. Record needed for 100 wins on the season is 9-3. Looking at the standings, the Brewers and Phillies have both clinched, but like I said, we have a 2 game, which is like a 2.5 game lead with the tiebreaker over the Phillies. And then over the Cubs for the bye and the division, it's a 5.5 game lead without the tiebreaker. So you feel pretty good about where you're sitting there on the bye and the tiebreaker. It wouldn't be the end of the world if they slid down to the 2 seed and still got the bye, but then you likely have to face the NL West champion, likely the Dodgers, in that second round. And you'd like to probably play a wild card team, although a Brewers Cubs series might give me a stroke. So it'd be fun if they won, but it'd be real stressful on the ways, knowing how big that rivalry is. But yeah, that's the schedule and that's the standings as it shakes out. I did want to point out, not really Brewers related, but the Giants are also fairly hot and the Mets are ice cold. The Giants kind of look like they could be out of it and they are fighting right now, just a game and a half back of the Mets for that last playoff spot.
Yeah, the playoff races kind of around the league too are becoming a little more interesting, I think, than people thought they were. Partly because of the Brewers handing the Rangers a couple games there, but that's only one piece of that race and playoff discussion. But yeah, it's becoming a little more interesting, I think, down the stretch. And we got MVP races that are still up for grabs, at least in the AL, it seems. Um, yeah.
All right, who was your hot hitter of the long week, the 9 games?
He's so hot right now.
Yeah, let me pull that up. I was looking and like obviously you want to give it to Mona just because he had the hit, you know. And this is tough. I think I gotta give it to Jake Bowers. Um, 2 homers, 8 runs, 8 RBI, 2 walks, even a steal. But he had 27 plate appearances and 10 hits. And like I said, 2 homers and 2 doubles in there. So Jake Bowers, a guy that I feel like for basically his whole tenure as a Brewer is about 1 game away from being, well, maybe one at bat away from being on the
Yeah.
hot seat. Um, but he got it done and definitely is carving out a spot for himself on this team. And I am starting to think there's no way he's not on the playoff roster and team with the value he can add as a lefty pinch hit bat or a glove at first. So Jake Bowers, and then just a little honorable mention shout to Andrew Vaughn. He got hot again over that stretch. He hit 417 with 2 doubles and 8 singles. Um, so it's good to see him staying hot. I think we kind of talked about he just kind of seemed like he was unlucky at the plate for a while when people were acting like his magic was gone and he should just be gone. But obviously he wasn't gonna keep the pace he was on for a while. But it looks like his luck reversed a little bit, but he still was putting good bat to ball, and in the last week it showed back up. So we have a weird looking 3-headed monster at first base right now.
Yeah, interesting to see Rhys Hoskins coming off the bench now, but it's just kind of how it shakes out. It's one of the
Well, when he's not playing second or third.
yeah, right. It's just one of those scenarios where you actually do have a log jam that I feel like doesn't happen that often, but they'll figure it out. Um, I'd bookmark him for a big hit off the bench in a playoff game. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh yeah.
All right, who was your untouchable pitcher of the week for the 9 games in the week and a half covered?
You fellas are untouchable. Is that the thing? No one can get to you?
I'm gonna give it to Brandon Woodruff. He gave up 2 hits in his outing, no walks, 8 Ks, 6 innings. It speaks for itself. But an honorable mention obviously could go to Quinn Priester in about any start of his last, is it 18 that that the team's
It's
won?
something crazy, yeah.
Um, but yeah, he went 12 and a third over his 2 outings. Did give up 11 hits, but also got 11 Ks and only gave up 4 runs. And as I just said, obviously the Brewers won those games because Quinn Priester was on the mound.
Yeah, hard to argue. It really feels like there's kind of been a line drawn where you feel really good anytime Woody, Freddie, and Priester are on the mound, the playoff rotation likely. And not that you don't feel good, but you definitely feel a little more worried about when it's Miz or Quintana. So it feels like that playoff rotation is set. And I would say that's more of a positive indication of those three than it is a negative indication of those other two. Quintana's been great for what he is, although we do know now, spoiler, before we get to that section, he's likely going to be out at least for a short period of time with a lower half injury. So kind of a blow. And then
It just sounds
Mizorowski,
funny to hear a lower half injury,
yeah,
even though I know you're just saying without
yeah,
super
lower
specific. They
extremity.
thought maybe like a calf, right? Or am I
Yeah,
making that
something
up?
like
Yeah.
that. So,
But
uh,
anyways,
but yeah, and then with Miz, it's starting to feel like um you're not gonna want him to pitch a long stretch in a playoff game. You're probably gonna want to look at him for 2, 3 innings max. And then if he's rolling, then whatever, let him go. But you probably want to have a short leash because it seems to have the Miz inning is unfortunately what it's been known as. Where the wheels kind of fall off. And for the first time, really, I feel like the Cardinals were um, all over him. Yeah, he faced the Cardinals, right? Whichever outing that was that we just watched, yeah, the Cardinals. They seem to be on everything, which was kind of weird. He did have his fastball was down a tick, so that could have something to do with it. But typically, it's been a command issue when he starts to fall apart rather than a contact issue. So
yeah, I
that
guess to jump in there quick, and you kind of, I think, addressed it, but would you rather have him be like the opener short leash starter then? Because like people talk about him as a reliever, but I'm like, if his issue is a big inning, it doesn't really make sense like in relief
yeah.
because you can't guarantee it's not early. So if you have him start and he rolls, like you said, you can ride him for a bit. And if it's a bad inning, at least you have the 8 innings to pick yourself up.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's what
tough
I
to
think.
say because in an NLDS, you don't even really need another opener if you trust those three
Yeah.
guys. So in that case, I'd probably say no. I'd probably want to just relegate him to the bullpen. But yeah, if those other three guys are down, I do like the idea of him being an opener to your point there, where you're saying like, you never know when it's going to come. Um, but yeah, it's tough. We'll see how it's managed. I admittedly don't know the answer, but we'll find out what it is. And um, it's going to be interesting because him and Quintana kind of would have been a piggyback that makes sense, I feel like.
Well,
Um,
Robert
eh,
Gasser is still floating
yeah.
around.
Yeah, I'd like to see Gasser pitch in the major league team before the playoffs for sure
Yeah.
if we're going to use him. So, yeah, it's kind of where I'm at. Um, but I guess there's two topics. The first topic we kind of alluded to, we don't need to sit on because it was kind of the talk of MLB this weekend, at least in Milwaukee. But Ken Rosenthal running over the Brewers photographer, uh, kind of looking like an ass, not helping him up, and whatever. I get it. Things happen, and but he kind of doubled down today by playing dumb on it, like, oh, I didn't even know what happened. And then AJ Przinsky was like, yeah, he's a nice guy. And then said, well, we asked the photographer to move a bunch of times, by the way, and he didn't. So then he kind of admitted that Rosenthal was mad.
Yeah.
I feel like if Ken would have just said, like, yeah, you're right, that was a dick move, essentially, in so many words.
Yeah.
I should have did that. But instead he tried to call us all dumb for what we all clearly saw. Like it
Yeah,
just
I
seemed
thought it
very
was
odd.
kind of like, especially once they like the situation got explained a little more and like you rewatch the video, like he literally not only like mean mugs him, but he literally gives him like a handout and like he shakes his head as he turns away. So there's like I don't really understand how you could say like everyone has eyes. Like well, how
I
like
know.
you said, how dumb do you think people are? And I don't really care. It's not like he's done anything to me. I'll never meet Ken Rosenthal, but
Yeah.
it's just weird. But yeah, he just sounds like a little weasel.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just dumb that they're trying to like gaslight us into like, no, it was a huge misunderstanding. And then Brzezinski at the end of their whole media saga today was like, oh yeah, we asked him to get out of the way a bunch of times. So then it kind of makes sense if they actually
hmm
asked Photographer to get out of the way a bunch of times, like get the face. Not that I agree with it, but I like whatever. But yeah, Kratz responded to our post and said false about
But I
Rosenthal thinking
mean,
things are about him. And like,
it
yeah,
it
I'm
seemed
saying
like
all
the only players though that really like took his side obviously were the ones that happened to be his colleagues. So
correct.
it's not
Hosmer
like it
quote
was yeah,
Hosmer quote tweeted us, Eric Hosmer, and like
yeah,
with the face.
yeah.
So whatever. And I saw a lot of people saying there's a reason he's not allowed in the Padres clubhouse. So I'm not trying to make it a bigger thing than it is personally because I don't know the guy, but to me it seemed like a glimpse into a guy who we normally see a character and that may be his true colors, but is what it is.
But he
Um,
really does like like the Wisconsin Dells commercials where like you get a little
yeah.
water in your face at the bubbler. He would apparently not enjoy that because he did not
Yeah.
like the idea of getting that bow tie a little wet.
All right. And then the other thing that you all alluded to, which was went from super cool to kind of strange.
I think it could have been fine
It
if
could have
they
been,
just
yeah.
called it what it was right away, but I don't know.
I almost want to blame it on whoever said, yeah, bring the social media guy in here to record this and put it on Twitter without an explanation.
Yeah.
So Murph read a note that sounded like it was from Euchre with at least one line that was clearly inserted because it referred to the best road record in baseball by the Brewers after their postseason clinch. But I think the Twitter page kind of made it seem like, oh, Murphy read a note from Euchre, and then the assumption was, oh yeah, they just added a line in there.
And then I
Turns
think also from that, people ran with it, and there other people then were reporting like Bob Uecker left this note with Mark Antonasio. Like I saw a decent like following on Twitter, some profile said that, so that you give a little bit, and then obviously people take it, and it's because it sounded so cool and
Yep,
moving. But yeah,
definitely. So as it turns out, one of the beat writers, I think it was Kurt Hogue today, clarified that the Brewers clarified that it was not from Uke, and Murph wrote it, which just made it a little odd. If they had prefaced it with that, it wouldn't have been nearly as odd. I think it would have been kind of cool, funny. But so I don't know. That was very, very strange. I mean, I think a lot of people echoed that sentiment on Twitter today. But again, I don't think it was Murph's fault, really. It was more so the social media guy didn't get it and posted it out. So hopefully, I mean, it really doesn't matter, but
yeah, it just seemed weird, especially
it
like
was
the
weird.
comment right away seemed weird when you were listening to it, and like you said, like there were obviously pieces that just
Hmm.
simply weren't like old or weren't
Or
written.
maybe like
Like yeah,
that
yeah,
was really accurate. Good
yeah.
guess. Best road record in baseball.
So
Uh, yeah,
whatever. Still was like cool to listen to, I guess, though, and good vibes because it is I mean, the first time we're having that celebration without Uke,
yeah.
of a clinch. So, or at least not Uke around.
Hmm.
I know in the past he wasn't traveling on the road if we happen to clinch certain spots there, but that does suck because that was always kind of had almost my favorite part of every season, I think, was just seeing Uke entering the clubhouse and the 90-year-old man literally being one of the boys with like freaking whatever, the 20-year-old players and then Yelly and all them and just seeing a guy like Yelly who's a little more reserved once he's around like you just seem to open everybody up. So it was cool that they wanted to incorporate him a little bit that way. Just probably could have communicated it better to the rest of us what what was going on there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, those were the two main storylines. Both of them really in the grand scheme of things don't matter. But just interesting. And yeah, it was cool. Champagne toast with the team assuming that they likely will be taking home the division and doing a real champagne shower. So, you know that I and we don't typically like to say things before they're over, but you feel pretty good about that right now with the current lead. So, um, all right, yeah, we can talk injuries and transactions. It's hard to remember exactly where we left off with us waiting a little bit longer this time, but obviously Reese Hoskins is back. Chad Patrick has made some appearances. You wonder if he's going to be the obvious choice to fill in for Quintana. I feel like that makes the most sense. He's still been pretty decent, even though he came down to earth a little bit. Siegler was option. Carlos Rodriguez was up and then down. Um, I don't know that there was much else. I think I saw McGill's bullpen was like didn't go as well as they thought, so he may need to wait a little bit longer. Which you definitely want to try to get him back in the last week of the season if possible. Um, but yeah, those are the main things that come to mind that I had written down on my notes, and obviously Quintana. But I'm not sure if you have others to add.
No, I think that's the main major league level stuff. And like we said, I definitely would like to get an eye on Gasser on the big league club. And I think Mears is still tracking okay. I don't think there's really any updates for his. It's back, I believe. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So nice. Yeah. All right. Well, and I imagine next week we'll probably start talking about a playoff roster for a short series, but we can do that next week. But that's kind of where we're at with the pitching. Um, Bullpen feels a little bit thinner than you'd had wanted it to be honest, with the losses of Miller and possibly Mears and McGill and even Quintana. But they'll be all right. Okay. We can go around the farm.
If it hadn't been for those meddling kids.
If it hadn't been for you meddling kids. Ah, meddling kids. If it hadn't been for these meddling laddies.
That we can. So the Southern League Player of the Week was Luis Lara, who, if you're not as familiar, go back and listen to our interview with Javik Blake, or just follow him on Twitter because you will see a lot of highlights and hype for him. A lot of cool stats for Luis Lara, but let's see. The Shuckers tweeted he reached base 15 times in 5 games. So that plus his glove equals Southern League Player of the Week. And then for the month of August, Blake Burke was the Southern League Player of the Month. In August, he had a 964 OPS with 7 homers, and a 51% hard hit percentage and 109.7 90th percentile exit velocity. So he was hitting the shit out of the ball, and he has continued that into September. I know I saw he had a couple home runs, I think, in their last series as well. So that is a guy that is pushing himself into the conversation to be on the big league roster next year for sure. Um, he was kind of a developed bat a bit coming out of college, and he's kind of put together a very interesting on base slash slug profile. So I want to shout him out. And then one of his teammates, Cooper Pratt, was the Brewers minor league player of the month, which I don't really know how teammates can one can win the Brewers minor league player of the month
Right.
and Blake Burke can win the league's player of the month. But his defense has stayed up at short, and then in the month he had a 400 on base percentage for an 842 OPS with a 1-to-1 strikeout to K or strikeout to walk rate and 7 steals in his 26 games. So he's kind of put together an all-around solid season, and I think there's maybe some Brewers fans that like to hear we have some high performers at shortstop in the minors, but that is not me giving up on Joey Ortiz because he almost had one of the coolest plays uh, Coach Keane has ever seen in the game on, was it Saturday or Friday? That one he snagged up the middle, but then he got up to
Yeah,
throw and it was a little high.
I think that was Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's also hit a little better, at least better than he started, which is not saying a ton, but hoping he can pull through a couple times down the stretch as well. But at least we know he can flash the leather. But staying with Shuckers, Jared Berry was the Brewers minor league pitcher of the month, and in his first 5 starts in Biloxi, he went 28 innings, had 29 Ks for along with 8 walks, gave up 6 runs, and had a .82 WHIP. So he was a guy that got promoted up to Biloxi, and obviously has not skipped a beat from what he was doing with the T-Rats. And then speaking of another guy who got promoted, Jesus Made is now a Shucker. Um, Sorry, Alec, you will not be able to see Jesus Mate in a T-Rats uniform. Um, but yeah, he got it done in his brief high A career and already moved up, and I'm looking forward to hearing the postseason review from Javik Blake of this current Shuckers roster because it's stacked. And then I also saw that the Arizona Fall League, the some Brewers have been announced to be participating in the Arizona Fall League. Includes Marco Dinges, Luke Adams, Brett Wichrowski, among a handful of other players. But that's always kind of a fun little piece for deep baseball fans to track, and that's where some players gain some steam, and it might not always pan out, but it's a good like bookend to a lot of these guys' seasons. So, um, yeah, there had some other fun facts. Eric Batanti led the Carolina League with 19 home runs in 2025. So, uh, obviously, another strong season out of him, and another of our strong young prospects. So, lots of guys getting it done. A lot of them happen to be playing in Biloxi, and they happen to have a playoff run starting up in, is it next week? I don't know. I know it's not this week, I don't think, but either
Yeah, I
way, the
think it's a
Shuckers.
week. I think it's like
Yeah,
a week before the MLB one. But
yeah. So Pretty cool. Because I know when we talked to Javik, he talked about how the injury bug kind of killed their second half, but now they got some reinforcements. Plus, their injured guys are healthy again, and they seem to be a little more reminiscent of the powerhouse they were to start the year.
Yeah, that'd be a fun if you're able to watch that, a fun playoff series to watch for the obvious players that are there with the ones who started this year in Biloxi and then with Made joining them.
I don't know how how calls of the minor league playoff things go. If it's just stays with your team, or if there's like a mixed booth of like each team and it's goes out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Obviously, it's
know
different
most
scope
of the
than
time on the MLB whatever broadcast, you'll hear the home team as the TV. And then I would imagine that when Javik travels that he's doing just the radio portion, like when because I never hear them when they're on the road. So unless I'm missing something on the
yeah.
app, I don't know how that works.
Well,
Um,
if their opponent knows what's good for him, they'll get Javik on the mic.
yep, correct. Yeah, the only thing I was gonna add that I just found, Logan Henderson bullpen scheduled for tomorrow. Maybe he factors in. Maybe it's just makes a spot start in the last week of the regular season. Um, Another thing to note was Jordan Montgomery was in town and he sat and did an interview and mentioned that, he said all the right things, but mentioned that he just trying to stay out of the way. And then he was just coming for like one day and checking in essentially. And the Brewers have been good, like checking in on him and letting him just do his own thing. And a reporter asked if he would consider staying. And of course he said like, yeah, I don't see why I wouldn't consider that, whatever.
Yeah, give me millions
Uh,
of dollars.
yeah, right. But I was just gonna say, I mean, I don't blame the guy for not wanting to get fully invested in a team that, he really has truly no part of other than just a transactional thing. Um, but I don't know. It was he was hard to read because he was very like to himself. I don't know. And so, anyways, all that to say, it would be cool to see him stick around next year. He's been a really good pitcher for a while, and I would like to see him on a cheap deal in Milwaukee next year if it makes sense. Maybe taking that Quintana role. So obviously we have a lot of talented young arms, but um, I don't know. Maybe he likes it here. I was kind of hoping to hear he'd stick around for the whole weekend and the playoff celebration, but instead he said he was just stopping by.
Yeah,
So
I feel like it's just kind of weird. Like, I don't even
yeah,
know. If I was him, I don't think I'd want to like
yeah,
intrude on the playoff celebration. But it would have been funny if he was right in the middle, just like shirt off, whip. Yeah, no, I don't know. He's had an interesting kind of career and run because like he's had really good years and then he had not as great of a run and then he got injured and was getting paid a lot to do so and um yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
very interesting.
I was gonna say, we didn't record our usual time because we went to the Packers game on Thursday, and we didn't realize that the Brewers would also be at the Packers game on Thursday. So a little Brewers Bucks meet up, and an array of Brewers. It seems like they also happened to choose all of the shortest players on the Brewers roster that were there. It was like Durbin, I think Sal, maybe
Yeah, Durbin,
Turang,
Sal,
Ortiz,
Turang.
Vaughn, who's also not that big, and then Eric Fetty was also there, which I just found funny because he had like a Packers t-shirt on, and obviously like they can just get gear and they get free gear, I'm sure. But I know Joey Ortiz like is a Packers fan, so that's cool. But it was funny because then they have a picture with like Derry Bird and Miles Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It always puts in perspective when you see like guards like AJ Green towering over MLB players, like
yeah.
how big NBA players really are.
Well,
It's kind of
I
crazy.
mean, if it was like the Yankees and they could have sent Stanton and Judge, you might have just seen them on the football
Yeah.
field. But fucking, you got Durbin, Sal, Terang, and Ortiz. Just looks like a little group of like trolls.
hmm
The only guys they stand over is Ken Rosenthal.
Yeah. Funny. Um, all right. Well, trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to bring up.
Well, I was
Um,
maybe gonna bring up in the Brewers Cardinals series, uh, Nolan Gorman, 13 plate appearances, one hit, seven strikeouts. He's sponsoring our ice cold beer of the week segment this
is
week.
that
So
right?
yeah, shout out Nolan Gorman. When you hit 083 in a series against us and strike out seven times, you're on the hook to sponsor a segment.
So who's your Nolan Gorman ice cold beer of the week?
I'll have a brewski, Charlie. Well, there's nothing like a cold one after a long day, huh? Oh, yeah. I've been known to drink a beer or two.
I had an array of Oktoberfest over the last few days. I had Spracker's version of an October. No, yeah, I did. I had New Glarus's, and then I bought Sam Adams Oktoberfest, but I haven't had it. So haven't had it yet this year. But I'll give it to, I think it's Staghorn is the New Glarus Oktoberfest, but you can definitely tell when you go to like Total Wine or whatever liquor store once it's September, October, and all of a sudden they're just at like all the Oktoberfest beers are out, and it's kind of funny because they don't taste all that different in my opinion. But um, general theme Oktoberfest, specific beer New Glarus Staghorn.
I had a couple of Sunny Ray citruses with you and Titletown Legacy Ale from
Oh yeah,
Mining.
that actually was good. Yeah, I forgot that was good.
Um, all right. Other news: Brewers and Braves playing in the Williamsport Little League World Series Classic in August next year. Um,
Yeah, I saw that.
doesn't really do anything for me, but I
That's
guess
cool.
I mean, yeah,
I think
it's cool.
we have a good team of like personalities for it too.
Yeah.
And I mean that's a good matchup. Obviously, if the Braves are what people thought they were going into this year, and a little health, maybe they'll be back. Um, but yeah, we have a fun team. Murph, Murph already does his pressers surrounded by like 8 kids, so
Yeah.
he'll be right at home. He'll just, um, I'm sure he'll have some jokes and so on. So no, that'll be good.
Um, all right. I did see Owen Casey, the Cubs young outfielder, had the concussion from hitting his head on a brick wall. It almost makes me think maybe you shouldn't make your outfield wall out of brick and grass.
Well, yeah, well they protect it with weeds.
Yeah,
But they
yeah.
start dying
Those
later in
nice
the year, I think.
soft
So
leaves.
yeah.
Anyways, I just wanted to get my little
Do
chirp
want to
in there.
say, do want to shout out Anthony Rizzo. His whole career, he's like, of all the Cubs, one of the.
He's one
I'll
of
make an
them.
exception. I'll make an exception for Anthony Rizzo. And then the retirement, and then hanging out, with the fans, almost catching a home run ball. Pretty cool experience. Every once in a while, I do think the Cubs fans deserve a little something fun, especially after we gave them Craig, and they've had to endure that. I like that they get a little smile every once in a while, so I'll give them that.
I just saw a tweet that Cub Zone that said with 13 games left, is the division still possible? And it shows the standings, and someone responded and said, "Yep, you're just one tragic Milwaukee team bus crash away." That's
Oof.
something. Yeah, I don't know if those are Brewers fans or Cubs fan, but yikes. Um,
That reminds me though, after the Rangers sweep, I forgot what one of the like Brewers fan, but by fan I mean pessimists tweeted like
oh yeah,
the division is we're in
yeah.
danger. The division is almost gone, and it was the game. It was still at 5.5, which it is today, and it has been for it seems like the last 2 weeks. It's
For
like,
the last 4 weeks, I think every single time you're losing, someone will reply to our Twitter page and say, "Division will be gone by this time next week, guarantee it." And then
yeah,
I don't know how it just keeps happening, and it's still a 5.5 game lead. It's
yeah.
so annoying. I would, if I cared more, I would literally bookmark them all and quote them, but I don't feel like arguing with people in their parents' basement. So,
What is funny though, that kind of reminds me because I was thinking of how it would be okay if we technically didn't win the division, but I keep hearing on I think it's Talking Baseball talks about it more, but
you
BID
mean
might too.
not get the 1 seed or not win the division?
Well, that's where I'm getting there. I was gonna say they've been talking about how now in the expanded wild card, the teams that get the buys haven't been the ones performing, and I'm like, you say that, but as a Brewers fan, I'd at least
Yeah,
rather move on.
yeah, I
Great, I'm not
agree.
worried about that piece yet. We can be the trend breakers, but that way I know we're making it out of the first weekend.
I'm
So
more worried about the fact that the team who has won game one has won the series every time. So essentially, it's been a pseudo 1 game series. That's what's more stressful to me. I think last year the Brewers were the first, it's only been 2 years, but it was the first of what, 8 series to go to a game three. So it's pretty much just been a 1 game playoff up to this point. Um, So yeah, I am all fine taking off whatever Monday through Friday. It would be a Saturday home game in the second round. And you start off with 2 games at home in a 5 game series. Like
Well,
I
and
mean,
just
I don't know that anyone would argue to play the extra round anyways, technically, but to their point, I don't agree with it.
like that run of games we went on, our starters are a little worn down. I mean, it's the end of the year. No shit. Our starters are worn down. Our relievers are worn down. Yelly's an older player with a back history. Contreras request to catch every single day. Like that's the way to save these guys from themselves. So um, definitely don't won't be mad if we happen to get a bye. But I just think people keep bringing it up, and it's like, yeah, that's what the small sample size has shown. But it's also like a unique team every time. It's like maybe that team snuck into the playoffs and they're hot and whatever, but it like we can't choose when we're hot, so you'd rather at least move on. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I understand it a tiny bit, but yeah, I don't. We need to get to that second round. Okay. I don't know that I really had anything else. I guess I did put in our group chat if we had the time, we could talk about how the tush push. I saw that people were saying that everyone's off sides. And I saw someone just in general in sports say, like, what are they supposed to just get rid of it because they can't officiate it? And I wanted to say, yes, in sports, if your refs literally can't officiate or regulate a rule, then yes, you should get rid of it. That was just a
Yeah.
general sports fan thought that I wanted to say. If
Well,
there's anything that it's impossible to regulate, yeah,
speaking of
you should.
refs and so on, Walker Bueller is getting all mad about ABS and
Yeah.
saying it was I don't I just feel like his rationale, some of it was fine, and then like the rationale of saying older pitchers should get more pitches, like I know that's how the games worked, but it's not an actual good argument. Like
No,
you
it's
can't,
not.
it doesn't
Yeah,
really
he was very
play.
convicted.
Yeah. He's also could use the help. So I think now that he's a little older in his career and quite struggling quite a bit,
Yeah, I was just
he
saying,
wants
does his
it.
zone get bigger now that he
Yeah.
sucks ass or
Yeah.
whatever? But
But
yeah, the tush push thing, I'm not anti tush push. Everyone should do it if they can, but if everyone's off sides, they also were saying the entire defense in the neutral zone. So it's just, yeah, it's dumb to me. It's dumb to me that they're so good at it because clearly everyone's off sides.
well, and there, I mean, that rule is its own thing, but just so many rules in a lot of sports, but especially football, are so subjective. Like a PI, like
Yep.
if you or the roughing the passer rules that happen for so long and still do, it's like, oh, so
Mm-hmm.
now it's a penalty. Or there was a taunting call in week one for the week one or two. Xavier McKinney basically just stood up and they called him for um, like taunting, and then you watch teams like have a 80-man celebration of like a rowboat or something. You're just like, what the
Mm-hmm.
fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm
yeah,
not really a Eagles hater or anything, but if they're just gonna win on Jalen Hurts getting shoved up the
yeah, it's
middle
not fun to watch,
all
that's
year.
for
It's
sure.
not that fun.
It's not
Like,
fun when it's like, oh, 4th and 1. Are they gonna
especially
get this stop? And you're like, nah, yeah, no, they're not. It's
assuming a
not
lot of people
possible.
play fantasy, all their skill guys are very
Yeah,
not
except
doing well
Saquon.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
And another last shout out is Kostas, Thanasis, and Giannis got third in Eurobasket, I think, and Giannis was like one of the 5 all-star type deals. So
Hmm.
um, seemed like it was big for him, and you just love. I mean, I think there's a reason Giannis likes Milwaukee, and it's kind of that smaller mentality, like a uphill battle, and obviously. I feel like Greece relative to some other basketball. I mean, they have a decent basketball history. I shouldn't diminish that, but a
Yeah, but
little
I
bit of an
get
underdog fight.
seemed to mean a lot to him just to get a third place medal, just the fact that they medaled. So
Yeah.
yeah, very pro Giannis podcast here, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm. But
All right, that's all I got. Brewers in the playoffs. Hopefully, when we talk next, maybe they've won the division. So, go Brewers, and we'll talk soon.
go Shockers.